BC in the rigged elections, we're going to start there because there's more to talk about. No one is measuring if foreign workers were taking Canadian jobs. They want to have another 30% reduction in the emission reductions, and that's on top of what we've already done with all the carbon taxes and things. And Gelbo's announced a further reduction, which is just unbelievable. And Alberta is implementing sharia banking laws. Shocking. I'm shocked. No, are you guys... Can you believe it? I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. Anyway, there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. We have to start with BC and the found ballot boxes. Honestly, we're going to get to the US election stuff at the end of the show. But Brittany says, unreal. BC election needs answers for this. So Richard is saying Elections BC is applying for a judicial recount for one ballot box in Prince George Mackenzie after discovering that votes from that ballot box were not counted or reported on election night. The ballot box contains approximately 861 votes. And Rob Shaw says Elections BC says it's found a ballot box from Prince George Mackenzie that was not counted on election night on October 19th. Approximately 861 votes misplaced. Has applied for a judicial recount in that riding. Human error blamed. Somebody left it in their house. I betcha that's what it is. Has also found data entry errors affecting the votes in 69 electoral districts, but says it was small. And those magic words, it did not affect the outcome in those districts. So you're welcome, everybody. The election was not rigged. We just didn't count a bunch of ballots and stuff in a really tight election. It's fine. It didn't affect the outcome, everyone. The majority, the razor thin majority that EB's eked out, right? And I know that he hasn't formed government yet, but I don't like how Rustad has responded to this. You'll find out why in just a minute. But Canada Proud is sharing the Elections BC page. Elections BC, they say, has found a ballot box containing 861 votes from the riding of Prince George Mackenzie that went uncounted on election night. Elections BC says this was the result of unintentional human error, and they've requested a judicial recount. So there you go. There's with everything this time. Try it again. National Post is reporting on the same. BC election agency says it's discovered that a ballot box containing 861 votes wasn't counted. This is the other part that I thought was weird. In the recent provincial election, as well as other mistakes, including 14 votes going unreported in a crucial riding. Unreported. Like, I don't know what that means, unreported. Like, here's 14 votes. And if the 14 votes were included, then, like, what would be true? And if they weren't included, what would be true? And, like, it just seems we gloss over a whole bunch of things, right? Here's what the newspaper says about the unreported votes. It says it said the unreported votes in Surrey Guildford were discovered last week during preparations for a judicial recount in the riding, where Gary Begg's 27-vote victory propelled the New Democrats to a one-seat majority government. Yeah. So totally above board. Didn't change anything. 14 votes. It was just 14 votes that just went unreported. Everything else is fine. Don't look too hard at this, right? I don't know. John Rustad is just saying, yeah, it didn't change the results, and I accept the results of the election. This changes nothing. Everything's fine. Move on. He says Elections BC has revealed that a ballot box containing 861 votes went entirely uncounted, along with 14 unreported votes in Surrey Guildford, a crucial riding narrowly won by the NDP. While I am not disputing the final outcome pending remaining judicial recounts, it's clear that mistakes like these severely undermine public trust in our election process. It undermines my trust in John Rustad that he's not saying this is a rigged election and these are untenable errors, and absolutely not do I accept the results of this election. Let's do another one. Like, I don't think so. It seems really weak to me. It seems very, very weak. He says, this is an unprecedented failure by the very institution responsible for ensuring the fairness and accuracy of our elections. At a time when confidence in electoral or election integrity is more fragile than ever before, British Columbians deserve assurances that every vote counts and that these errors are corrected. That's why I'm calling for an independent review to ensure that these types of mistakes never happen again. Democracy is too sacred to allow trust to erode the lows we see today. And I said, it was a rigged vote. Like, why are you determined to ignore this? Why are you ignoring this? It seems absolutely ABC. All of these errors, all of these irregularities add up to a bullshit result that does not represent the will of the electorate. Get another one done, and we'll do paper ballots, and we'll do one day. And that's that. Like, none of these mail-in ballot nonsense, because all it does is let you reconcile. So, like, paper ballots, John. And I can't believe that he's just rolling over, right? Like, I'm not disputing the final outcome, means he's not disputing the majority government gotten by EB. That's what this means. That's all that means. It means I'm not going to do anything. I'd love to be wrong, but he's not going to do anything. So holy cow, like being sold out by the people who are promising to work for you, right? Oh, I would be working for you, except this darn election thing, we lost by just the skin of our teeth. Like, right, sure you did. And you're not willing to fight at all for it. Aaron Gunn says it's official. Oh, hold on, this is in the wrong spot. Actually, it's not in the wrong spot. So this kind of has to do with elections, but not really. Yesterday I was talking about, and I asked for your input in the comments, and I'm glad a lot of people responded, so that was fun. But I asked, what would you do with this pension? Like these other people, or these people worked for it for the sake of a week. Do you think that they should lose their pension, or they should, does it matter to you? Does Bill C-65 matter to you, these people getting their pension? And yeah, a lot of people said, yeah, it matters. They shouldn't get it. One person says if they want their pension, they should convince their constituents to reelect them. They should actually try to listen to their constituents and have their constituents support them. That was one. And then I thought the best answer was this. So this is Wolfhaven, and they say, retired public servant here. I had to work 30 years minimum to collect my pension, 50% from my contributions. Being able to collect after 6 years is ridiculous. And yeah, best answer. 100%. You're right. I think you're right. And like I said, you can fix it going forward, but it seems punitive. And I think Canadians will see it as punitive, but I'm glad to be wrong. Like I thought other people would see that as punitive or punishment or something to that effect. I think they do deserve punishment. I think they should be in jail because I think that they've betrayed the country. But here we are talking about pensions. Anyway, Aaron Gunn says it's official. The Liberals and the NDP conspired in a closed door meeting to push the fixed election day back by a week from October 20th to October 27th, so that 28 of their MPs would qualify for their lifelong taxpayer-supported MP pensions. Then they lied about it, claiming it was to avoid the celebration of Diwali. This will cost taxpayers, that's us, $4.7 million a year. It's because of garbage like this that people hate politics and don't trust politicians. Canadians deserve better. Yep, 100%. I totally agree with that. So it's up to us to demand better. And 6 years for a pension? How about prorated, and you can pay into it for the other 25 that it'll take to get the pension? How's that? Liberal Party and the NDP are indistinguishable. This is them publishing their prep for elections, I guess. And Liberal Party says Liberals will always stand up for a woman's rights to choose. I don't know why everybody thinks it's just fine and dandy for a woman's right to choose to kill a baby. Like that seems like a strange satanic inversion of common good sense, right? Like a woman's right to choose to kill a baby in order to pursue her dreams and go to school, right? Like the whole argument is very weak, in my opinion. And it's even more weak. And like, I think it's interesting, the sanitization of the language around killing old people, because that's been turned into made, right? Like we don't want to call it murder. We don't want to call it like government assassination or anything like that, right? You don't want to be calling a hit on your parents, right? Like that's not, it feels weird enough making the appointment at the vet, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to call in a hit on this animal that we've taken care of for a while, and that's going to be that. Don't forget the cannoli, right? And you can do that for your parents now, and they want to make sure that we don't think about that as what it is. They don't want to use the language plainly. They want to disguise it as maid or abortion or women's health care. And it's none of those things. It's just murder. It's just plain murder. And I think that it's really, really, really gauche that we have two major political parties, and they're in power now, rebranding the murder of unborn babies as women's health care. And they brainwash children to believe that. Our whole society is brainwashed to believe that. In fact, people talking about it the way I'm talking about it are seen as like pro-life, on the edge, fringe people. And I think that most people, if you sat them down and talked to them, and like Widowson, I think, she does the Bogosian's strongly agree, neutral, strongly disagree, or disagree and strongly disagree. And she puts up these sentences. And I think that if you talk to people about this and said like, is abortion women's healthcare? I think that a lot of people would disagree. Or abortion is women's healthcare. Maybe I should do this at the University of Guelph. How long do you think I'd last on campus? Anyway, regardless, this is what the Liberals are pushing. This is what they want to do. And they're rebranding women's healthcare into let's kill your babies. Anyway, Justin Trudeau says some crisis pregnancy centers are dishonest. They don't provide abortions and they purposely don't tell you that. Women have choices in Canada. If these centers want their charitable status, they need to be transparent about the choices they offer and the ones they don't. So if you're not offering abortion services, if you're not willing to kill their babies as part of the, plan of care for them, then you're not going to be getting your charity status. You're not going to be getting the money that we promised you before. NDP are doing the same thing and are targeting Pierre Poilievre. They say you should have the right to choose where and when you need it. End of story. Unless, hold on, they're talking about vaccinations, in which case you don't have a right to choose. That's my body and we're going to vaccinate you or you're going to lose your job. So women have a right to choose to kill their baby, but they don't have a right to choose to not be vaccinated. You see how that works? The NDP don't. Ha, sure. Anyway, that's why we will always fight back against conservative attacks on your reproductive rights. Reproductive rights? Like, you're just killing a baby. What? Anyway, Pierre Poilievre here in dark blue and slicked back hair, and they've got a headline that says Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are a threat to reproductive rights in Canada. That's patently absurd. It's absolutely the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And the changing of the language, the sanitation of murdering children through calling it something else. Nah, I just don't, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And maybe like there was a time where I think that I just, whistle on by and like, la, 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 la. But it's really, this is one of the things they want to talk about often and nobody pushes back hard on them. And I think we should. Arif Varini, let's do our grab bag of governance. Who doesn't like our grab bag of governance? Arif Varini is the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. And he says, Carol Todd, Amanda Todd's mother, is tired of this conservative delay tactic endangering our ability to protect kids online. With Bill C-63, the Bloc and the NDP have power to end the Conservatives' political games and get the Online Harms Act through to committee, will they? The Bloc is not going to support the Liberals, as far as I understand it. Blanchette's trying to organize bringing the government down, but they can't convince the NDP to do that. So I guess they're convincing backbenching people. But the business of the House is frozen because the Speaker is saying, until we figure out this corruption with the green slush fund and all of this corrupt money going to liberal insiders, we can't do any business. So Varini's trying to argue that this is putting people at risk. And really, Bill C-63 is actually putting people at risk. And this is Bill C-26, but it's kind of in the same vein. Here is just 40 seconds. I don't like, this is what our government's talking about, but Varini and all of them, they're snakes and they seem, it's like listening to a used car salesman. It's like, be wary of this pitch, right? Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Carol Todd for her courage. Carol's daughter, Amanda, tragically died by suicide 12 years ago after being victimized online. Now Carol is calling on every parliamentarian to take action and pass the Online Harms Act. To quote Carol, she said, "The filibuster that is happening right now and holding everything up is frustrating. It's just wasting time. I've waited 12 years for this. Conservatives have shown they will not prioritize children or protecting them. But I put it to the Bloc and the NDP that they have the power right now to stop this filibuster, protect kids, and pass this bill. Will they?"
It's not about protecting kids. It's about censoring people. It's about spying on people. Here is Kate Robertson, and she's testifying on Bill C-26. This is different than the Bill C-63, but C-63, Bill C-26, all of the Pandemic Preparedness Act, 293, all of these bills work in concert to systemically kind of shut down speech and shape speech online. And they're working on doing it in different ways with different tactics and different vectors, because if they tried to do it all in one, people would say, you can't do that because we have speech enshrined and expression enshrined in our Constitution and our Charter of Rights, which is useless because it didn't protect our rights, did it? But anyway, regardless of that, and we should fix that, to be honest with you, but they know that it wouldn't pass because they know it violates the Constitution, put it all together, but they're trying to pass it in pieces because they're trying to be tricky. Here is somebody lifting up the tablecloth to peek under, right, and to show us what's going on.
you for the question. In my remarks, I have identified privacy deficits that have been analyzed in my brief as being a significant gap in the constitutional footing of this bill. But in addition to those issues which I outlined, the free expression deficits follow very closely on the heels of those privacy gaps in the legislation. And by that, I mean the non-disclosure orders that attach to ministerial powers, which are virtually unlimited in scope and will have the potential to meaningfully interfere with public debate about matters of critical importance to the public interest. In the judicial review proceedings that are in the Telecommunication Act, for example, there is some provision for secrecy. However, it is specifically limited to matters which are injurious to international relations, national defense, or national security, or endanger the safety of any person. The non-disclosure orders which attach to the ministerial powers, there is no limit on the reasons that the minister may apply for requiring non-disclosure, and they're virtually time limited, unlimited in temporal nature as well. And so both of these privacy issues, as well as what is ultimately a free expression problem, are very significant in this legislation, notwithstanding some very considerable improvements since it was studied in the House of Commons. And
so there you go. Very interesting, if you ask me. Having the ability to spy on Canadians for however long they want with no time limits and no oversight. Yay, sounds great. They're doing that now. They are doing that. If you don't know that they're doing that now, please be aware that they are doing that now. You have cameras that point at your face all the time. The whole idea of a selfie, I have my camera blocked, by the way. The whole idea of a selfie is to get people used to the idea of a front-facing camera. But when you're watching that, you're watching a computer that can time index your responses to what's on the screen and know what you looked like when you saw that thing, right? They can track your eyes, it can track your eyes, and it can see what you're looking at. And when you saw that thing and your face changes from a neutral expression to a frown or a neutral expression to a smile, they can track all that crap. They can track it all. And I'm sure, I mean, you can talk at the way Google Alexa works or Google Homes or anything like that. There's no computer in them. They're just a speaker and they're connected to a server. The computer is back at the server. So what they do is they record your audio. They send that 5-second clip back to the computer. The computer listens to, decodes, and responds to you in the amount of time it takes to return it, right? And then that's how it works. That's what it does. So in order to beyond listening all the time, it's always listening for the keywords to start recording you, right? And I would say it's probably always recording you. So like, be aware of that kind of stuff. And that's not to say that your phone isn't always recording you as well, because it's got the Google, Alexa assistants and all that stuff built in. But again, like, why would you want to have the time indexed face information, right? Why would you want to do that? Well, if you have an AI that you're trying to train on what people think and how they think and what they respond, how they respond to things like that, having hours and hours and hours of facial responses to stimuli might be helpful, right? And Google is Android, and the Android operating system is open source, and it's massive. And I mean, auditing that code is a task, right? And so like, if you wanted to have something like, we're going to use your biometric data to train our AIs. I mean, that's in X data. So if X accesses your camera and then indexes how you view X, and then has its AI look at that and says, okay, when the titles are this much bigger, the response time is, these many milliseconds faster, right? Like, all of these things they're going to use, and they're going to say it's going to be great. It's going to be great. But I'm telling you, they're recording absolutely everything. Everything. So beware of it. Just beware and act accordingly. People forget, and then they forget. So they behave as they normally behave very quickly. Dan Miser says, Trudeau's top economic advisor, Mark Carney, old Yellow Teeth himself, was caught misleading Canadians about his company's environmental record. I'm shocked, I tell you. Carney was forced to retract claims that Brookfield was net zero when it was not. Financial experts call out Mark Carney's fake environmental record. It's 6 minutes. Oh, no, it's not 6 minutes. Sorry, there's another one that's 6 minutes that we're not going to listen to, but this one's a minute, so let's listen to it. Here we go.
There was an article in the Financial Post on Justin Trudeau's top economic advisor, Mark Carney, who was forced to retract his false claims about his company's environmental record. The article stated, and I quote, Mark Carney walks back, claims Brookfield has reached net zero after criticism. Backlash from climate experts hinged on Carney's use of avoided emissions, which a company takes credit for refraining from high polluting actions, end quote. Can you tell us what happens to ESG investing when companies greenwash their environmental record?
Yeah, I mean, so you've got two possible explanations for finance's poor performance, the financial market's poor performance on ESG. One explanation is, well, they're just not being given accurate information by the companies. And certainly there are lots of reasons, lots of incentives for companies to put the best face on their ESG performance. I tend to think fraud is not common, but there's a lot of spin in ESG reporting.
Oh, it's not fraudulent. This is our spin room. It doesn't say fraud room. Oh, that's so 1997, right? Like, oh gosh, it's not fraud. It's just spin. We're just interpreting data and then releasing the interpretation rather than the actual data, right? Like, oh, okay. Seems kind of crazy. Net zero is absolutely insane, by the way. And Canada is already a net reducer, cleaner of carbon. Here's the math of it. One tree absorbs 48 pounds of CO2 per year. Canada has 318 billion trees, and we're going to plant 2 billion more, everyone. That's 15, whatever, trillion, no, 318 billion times 48 pounds is a lot of carbon that can be cleaned in Canada, which equals 7,155 billion tons of carbon each year. Canada produces 598 million tons per year. Canada cleans 10 times the CO2 it produces. So we are being bamboozled by our leadership, and they know it, and we know it, and they know that we know that they know that we know that they know it. So what are we going to do about it? They're going to continue to lie to us. That's what's going to go on. Rick Perkins, this is the 6-minute one, and we're not going to listen to this one. Rick says, we feel that we're in the middle of this, but it's really the government that should be accountable for the decisions to redact or refuse to provide documents. Auditor General stuck in the middle, but Liberal government has the power to turn over all green slush fund documents to the RCMP. The $400 million corruption scandal has paralyzed Parliament, and Liberals can end it today. How bad is it? What exactly are they hiding? Well, they're hiding the corruption that all of their unelected bureaucrats, assistant ministers, sometimes even ministers, Stephen Galbo, were getting kickbacks to companies they own or had interest in, Randy, right? Like, holy smokes, right? So, yeah, what are they hiding? It's pretty open what they're hiding. Here's a 5-minute one from Wiretap Media of Larry Brock, who's talking about all of this as well. Co-conspirators in in Trudeau's Green Slush Fund scandal, Zayed Rashimi admits that he is reading from a prepared script from SDTC and refuses to answer whether his wife's company will pay back the conflicted millions of dollars they stole from Canadian taxpayers. So, I mean, I like Larry Brock. He's a former prosecutor. I think he's a lawyer, right? He was a former prosecutor. So you can tell when he's like a dog with a bone, like a bulldog. He goes after people, and he knows, like, he's like, these are the facts. This is what I know. And if you know some other facts, and you can prove them, then tell me these new facts because I'm interested in that. But if you don't have any facts, this is what we know. No nonsense. I like that kind of stuff, right? Dr. Rochelle Killian, we have an update for Dr. Killian, and she says, Dr. Killian, an emergency physician known for her stance on COVID-19 vaccine exemptions, recently faced a significant legal blow, and that's not great. On October 11th, 2024, the Supreme Court upheld a ruling requiring her to release over 519 patient records, raising serious patient privacy concerns. Dr. Killian, who gained attention in 2021 for granting vaccine exemptions due to safety concerns, has clashed with the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, which argues that there are almost no valid reasons for exemptions. This conflict underscores the tension between the doctors committed to her patients and regulatory expectations. And somebody says, you could not go home. And she says, I'm not going to be a martyr. Like, you could not go home. That's not what I meant. You could not hand over the documents. And she said, I have children. I'm not going to go spend time in jail on my principles. This is an insane ask by the Canadian government, but like, they win. Like, that's that. And so, and she's right. Like, she's not wrong in that. Like, sure, she could go to jail, but she's not going to meaningfully change anything. They're rolling over here. There's no there's no utility in going and standing in front of a freight train that's going to kill you. Like, I'm going to stop it. I see danger. Yeah, okay, but you're dead now, so sucks, right? So like, I think that you can take the fight as long as you can take the fight, and when insane people do insane things, you get out of the way, right? Like, unfortunately. And I hope that you can figure out a way to fight it, to continue to fight it. But I mean, that's not a dead cert, right? Sometimes insane people win for a long time. The Soviet Union was in play for 70 years or something like that, right? And like, it took the Chernobyl meltdown to really change anything. And then all the NATO guys, NATO was created to counter USSR Sovietism, right? Communism, Sovietism, and all that. And they were like, this NATO thing's really great. We really like having these positions of power and this pay, and I love the office. So let's figure out a reason to keep NATO going, right? Like, these positions don't just go away. Like, they don't just stop. I don't know. It's frustrating, because once the job's done, there should be a plan for disbanding it, but there isn't, and the thing itself protects itself. Let's talk about Alberta. The other day I was reporting on CanadaPoly.com that there were Arabic language callers going out to people in Alberta, and there were schools that were asking Muslims to come to the UCP, the AGM, the annual general meeting for the United Conservative Party, and vote for Danielle Smith, because Danielle Smith was protecting them and helping them financially with schools and allowing them to have Sharia banking and all the rest of it. And so I reported on that, and pretty interesting that it's come and gone. Danielle Smith got 91% confidence in her leadership at the UCP, and yesterday, November 3rd, I guess, the day after the leadership, people were saying, holy smoke, this is like not good. People are having Sharia laws being implemented in Alberta banks. And Michael says, over the weekend, I attended the UCP's AGM in Red Deer, where I voted no on Danielle Smith's leadership review for many reasons, but chiefly because I do not trust her. I want to bring attention to a specific, very disturbing development in the UCP. Matthew A., the former campaign manager for Danielle Smith, organized in coordination with the party and 2 Islamic schools from Edmonton a plan to bus out Muslims from these schools to vote and lobby everyone else to vote yes on the Premier's leadership review. While at the event, I was approached by a young Muslim girl wearing a hijab who handed me a pamphlet which had both English and Arabic on it. It said, vote yes for the UCP leadership to review to support expanding Sharia law in Alberta. I hope the 91.5% of UCP members who voted yes for this don't have to reap what they have sown. So here's one of the pamphlets, and it says, we need your help. Vote yes in the UCP leadership to review to support expanding Sharia law in Alberta. And then it's got UCP AGM 24. That's his ballot, but here's more pamphlets. This one's on the side, so I'm not going to try and read that one. This one says, Muslims for Smith, help Premier Smith deliver on her promises, support Danielle Smith and the UCP leadership review to help her deliver important changes for Alberta's Muslim community. And it says, and I already read that one. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff going on with that. Here's another one. Laura Lynn Tyler Thomas has the inside. This is the one that was on its side. It says it's Islamic schools and holidays. Smith has promised to expand Islamic schools, ensuring our children receive an education aligned with our faith and values. She's also committed to recognizing Islamic holidays so we can celebrate freely. These promises will strengthen our community and ensure our traditions are strong in Alberta. If you want Islamic schools to grow and our holidays respected, vote yes for Smith. Sharia banking. Smith is committed to introducing halal financing, allowing Muslim families to access mortgages that follow Sharia law. This will make homeownership easier for our community and help ensure financial freedom while respecting our values. Support bringing Sharia law to Alberta by voting yes for Smith in the leadership review. So that's ballsy, right? Why Danielle Smith? Danielle Smith has built a strong connection with Alberta's Muslim community, attending mosques and celebrating iftar dinners. She's committed to supporting us by expanding Islamic schools, recognizing Islamic holidays, and bringing Sharia banking to Alberta. So, yay? The breakdown says, day after the UCP AGM weekend, the UCP is changing the laws to have ATB create subsidiary corporations governed by Sharia law to provide halal mortgages. Taxpayers' money is now financing religious loans in Alberta. So if you bank with ATB Financial, close your accounts, pull out your investments, and move your mortgage. So welcome to Canada. Here's Western Standard. Let's talk about some CO2 before we continue talking about the invasion ongoing. And then we'll get to the United States. Nothing happens on election day until the end of the day anyway. It'll be dinner time before we realize there's 10-hour lines waiting for people who are trying to vote Trump. And all the Democrat states are, they've already voted twice. And this is a whole election thread. So there's a whole bunch of different things that are happening on election day. So we are on the cusp. It is election day in the United States, and it feels like this is 10 years in the making, probably more than 10 years in the making. When did Trump start running? 2012, right? He decided in 2012. And then he came down the elevator, sometime 2014, 2015? I don't know the exact date. But after watching 2016, going through 4 Trump years, during the KTT, I said Trump won in 2020. I meant 2016. We had 4 Trump years in 2016 to 2020. And it's interesting that he didn't win 2020 because there was a way for them to unrig the 2016 election. Because I don't believe that if they wanted Hillary to win, like today, if Hillary was the nominee, it wouldn't be up to the American people. It's up to the people who count the ballots. Fundamentally, right? Just like BC, right? And so like if we were going into an election today and it was Hillary Clinton again or whatever, then I wouldn't think to myself, oh, that Hillary's a real strong candidate. Oh, even if it was like Joe Biden or I couldn't imagine anybody else, Big Mike, whoever they had running as the nominee, I feel like Trump would have looked like he won on the day. And I think that's where we're at now. Like, if you look at the 2 campaigns, the Democrat campaign was a nightmare of Lady Gaga and twerking and ridiculousness. And Trump did a bunch of rallies and I think galvanized the population to love their country again to a degree, right? And so like, I think that no matter what, it comes down to like what happens on today. And hopefully there's a contingency plan of some kind, but who knows? And if Trump doesn't win, well, it doesn't seem, I said at the beginning of the show, it doesn't seem like urgent. It doesn't seem like there's a really big, sometimes there's this feeling that something big is going to happen on a day. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, that day is going to be a big day. And it doesn't feel like today's that day. I guess. I don't know. There's something, because I feel like there's not going to be any result today because they're going to drag it out and then they're going to declare Harris the winner. And then the question is what then, right? Because when that happened with Biden, big fat nothing happened. So how's Trump going to navigate this? And like, if there's no result today, okay, if there is a result today, let's say they declared Trump the winner today, then we've got January 6th, and they've said they won't ratify him, and then we've got January 20th, and between today and January 20th, that's something like 75 days or something like that. I don't know exactly, but I think they said it's 75 days. That's like the most dangerous time because they're going to try and kill him, right? Also going to try and kill him. But he's not doing rallies and things, so he'll be more protected than he's been. So I don't know. But I feel like we are going to watch a rigged American election, and then we're going to wait and see if there's a response. And if there is a response, like from Trump and the people who have had the whole thing rigged and stolen from them, we'll see if it works. And if Trump actually just cleanly wins it and walks into the White House, well, I don't know what happens then, because it seems like it'll be crazy. But we've got 75 days to wait for that. So we'll see. But anyway, here is Emerald, and she says the corrupt corporate media are already seeding the narrative that Nevada will need 7 days to get election results. Plenty of time to cheat. All hammer and scorecard, keep the election close. And then after the election, you can reconcile and make sure you've won with a convincing number of ballots to win. Because after the election's over, you know how many ballots you need. And it's not just one state, it's all the states. Oh, we found an extra election box. Oh, we just plumb forgot it at this guy's house one time. The chain of custody has not been broken. Everything's fine. Yeah, oh yeah, the tape's still on the box and everything. Wink. Do you remember when I showed the new premier of New Brunswick telling everybody, I love you? Here is Donald Trump's daughter telling everybody that she loves them. We love you. We love you. Isn't that weird? I think it's weird. I think it's a little weird. Don't politicians can love the country, but I don't think you can love the voters. You can want to be their champion. I think you can want to be their champion. I don't know that you can love them, right? Like, I don't know that you can love them. I think it's, here's
across the country. You guys
are
our family. We love you. God bless you. We are here fighting by your side, not just now, but forever, because we are so blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, the United States of America. We love you guys. Thank you.
She said it a third time too. Like she started with, we love you, and blah, 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 when she started. And it's just, I mean, it's more genuine coming from these people, but like at the same time, it just sparks red flags for me. One, no matter which side it comes from, you can be a champion, but I don't think you can love them. You can love the country, and Trump loves the country. He hugs the flag. I think you can love the country, and you could love the people of the country. But like, you know, I love Canadians, right? But like, I love you, voter. That's a little personal, and I think that that's weird. Be my champion. We're not going on a date. It's not happening. Jack says Joe Rogan has officially endorsed Donald Trump for president of the United States. No, that's not to say don't vote for Trump. Like he's probably the best choice, right? Here's Joe Rogan's endorsement. This is the 2-hour whole Joe Rogan for Elon Musk. The episode number for this one, and you'll notice Joe Rogan's got the third eye in the top there, right? Oh, for crying out loud. I was trying to center him. He's got the third eye there. You see that? And the episode number for Elon Musk is 2223. So do you know Masonic numbers? If you know Masonic numbers, 6s and 3s are Masonic numbers. And if you have a combination of numbers that equals a 6, that works too, right? So 222, 6, 3. 3, 3, 3 times 2 is 6, right? So 3 times 2, 3, 3, 3. Like 3 times 2, 3 times, and then 3 times 2 once. 6, 6, right? There's all sorts of 6s on this. And not displaying 1, but it's there. Anyway, Joe Rogan says the great and powerful Elon Musk, if it wasn't for him, the great and powerful Oz? Weird, right? If it wasn't for him, we'd be effed. He makes what I think is the most compelling case for Trump you'll hear, and I agree with him every step of the way. For the record, yes, that's an endorsement of Trump. Enjoy the podcast. So there you go. Here's Trump learning that Joe Rogan's endorsed him. It's a little rambly. It's like 2 minutes long, 1:45. So we're not going to listen to the whole thing, but we'll listen to something. Here we go.
Oh, wow. I have some more big news, Megan. I'm just getting this right now. So somebody that's very, very respected asked me to do his show 2 weeks ago, and I said, why not? And to me, it's very big because he's the biggest there is, I guess, in that world by far. Somebody said the biggest beyond anybody in a long time. And his name is Joe Rogan, and he's never done this before. And it just came over the wires that Joe Rogan just endorsed me. Is that right? Thank you, Joe.
And then he goes on another story and thanks him again. So it's like a whole other rehashing of the same story. It's kind of, I mean, it is what it is. It's Trump. He weaves. The Patriot Voice says it's really hard to believe that this Donald Trump rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan will be the last Trump campaign rally ever. I would say it's surreal. After 9 years, 900 plus Trump rallies in every state across the country, over 3 different campaigns. This rally is the end of the line. It all started in 2015 when Trump descended down the escalator at Trump Tower. Little did we know then that it was the birth of the greatest movement in American political history. I was a Trump supporter from the day I had heard he was running, and when he said Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo, I was hooked and sold. I've been to many rallies, most during the 2020 cycle, living in PA at the time. Now it's time for MAGA and to go to work one final time. This is a God-ordained duty to save America from communism, and we only get one more chance. Trump took a bullet for us in America. The least we can do is cast our vote for him. Kamala broke it. Trump will fix it. Vote. We'll see. This is 2 p.m. 2 p.m. on the day before the election. Trump released this one. It's 2.5 minutes. We'll listen to the first minute.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hip?
So this is, I saw this ad and I thought, like, this is the Avengers Assemble ad. Like, this is Trump and Tulsi and RFK, and I don't know this one. This is the detransitioner person, Chloe, right? And JD Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy, and I mean the rest, right? And it's the whole team that Trump has put together, who up until 5 seconds ago, a lot of them were Democrats, and that should be concerning to people. Why are you surrounding yourself with Democrats, man? But they're powerful people, and they're people who have been convinced, I guess, by Trump over the last few years to switch their position. Donald Trump says this is the other ad, 7 p.m. I think this is the last one that he released. Again, we'll listen to, I don't know, I think we listened to a bit more than a minute, but we'll carry on. Here we go.
8 years ago, one man had the courage to step forward, to take on the corrupt ruling class, to battle the Washington insiders who raided our factories, pried open our borders, and sent our best Americans to die in desert wars overseas. But the corrupt system fought back. They could never forgive him for taking away their power and giving it to you.
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again.
So they came after his family, his business, and his freedom. One hoax, one injustice after another. But Donald J. Trump pressed on because he wasn't fighting for himself. He was fighting for you.
They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way.
The Democrat Party tried to throw their opponent behind bars, but Donald Trump would not bow down to tyranny.
I will never quit, I will never bend, I will never break, I will never yield, not even in the face of death itself.
An assassin came within a...
It's a compelling story. I mean, holy smoke. The stuff that we've been through, are you kidding me? And wokeness says Elon Musk voted for Obama twice. Joe Rogan voted for Bernie in 2020. Tulsi was in charge of the DNC. RFK Jr. is a lifelong Democrat. They're all backing Trump. Okay. We'll see. We'll see how it all works out. Maxime Bernier says, what does a Trump win mean for Canada? He says the good and the bad. The bad is basically worrying about people who will be deported from the United States, deporting themselves to Canada because we've got really good giveaways here and we seem weak and like we won't deport them, but we should. Here's Maxime Bernier.
I had a question about the U.S. election.
Sorry. It's too fast. Apologies. I was trying to listen to the whole thing, and I did. We'll listen to the positives.
Last time, I had a question about the U.S. election, and I just want to tell you what I told them at that time. So, I hope that Trump will win. But I must say, the impact here in Canada will be good and can be bad. So I will go with on the good side. The good side, if Trump is winning in the US, what will be the impact here in Canada? First, because of Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they are fighting censorship. They are fighting for free speech. And censorship is because of Twitter, not Twitter anymore, Facebook and Google and all that. And we cannot do as a country. The US can pass a legislation and can solve that. And if they do that, we'll have more free speech here in Canada. That will help us. The other thing is, the war in Ukraine. I said that we are for peace and prosperity. Why giving $14 billion to Ukraine when we don't have that money? Like Benjamin Pierre is saying, bring it home. Yes, bring home that money back here, $14 billion. If Trump is elected, he will end the war in Ukraine. That will be it. That will be a good impact. What would be the other good impact? These mainstream journalists who don't want to speak about us and about our ideas. The President of the United States, is speaking a little bit like us on different issues. They will have to speak about the radical gender ideology because Trump will do something about that. That will help us to promote our ideas because the mainstream media will have to cover what Trump is doing in the US. And our ideas will grow faster and our popularity as party will grow faster also. They will have to cover what Trump is doing in the US.
And so I'll leave it there. He talks about the risk of Trump being elected is people coming to Canada. Here's Bon Jovi. So Trump has got all these people supporting him. It seems like he's got lots of momentum, a Joe Rogan endorsement on the eve of the election. It's all about timing, right? The wait until you see the white of their eyes. And so very interesting. And Kamala's got Bon Jovi. And this is Bon Jovi trying to sing Living on a Prayer. And I didn't recognize the song until like the second half. He sounds like he's in pain here.
And I say, whoa, we're halfway there.
Maybe he was starting with an Islamic prayer and then it went into Living on a Prayer. I'm not sure. Ian Miles Chong says the media caught Kamala Harris staging her own visit to a family where she instructed them to go back inside the house and wait for her to knock because it would look better for the cameras. The guy's like, oh, you want us to go inside for you to knock?
Hey, Max. I want a door knock.
Oh, you want to do a door knock?
Yeah, come on.
Okay.
Okay, here, I'm gonna...
I had your hat on at the Penn State game in front of 111,000 people all day Saturday.
There you go. So, oh no, I wanted to knock on the door. Oh, yeah. We didn't expect you at all, Kamala. Shocked that you're here. Thrilla the Gorilla says, Oprah endorsed Kamala. Are you surprised? Here's Oprah, or a reasonable facsimile of Oprah, hanging out with Bill Cosby, hanging out with Harvey Weinstein, hanging out with Sean Puff Daddy Combs. And I don't know who the last guy is. Is that John of God? Is that who that guy is? Who was the terrible, awful pedophile guy who Oprah endorsed a bunch of times. So Kamala's got the pedophiles and others. And Donald Trump has, it seems like, the saner people. Although all these sane people seem just fine playing by the rules of the mainstream media and by the rules of, you cannot call out the COVID shot. You cannot talk about ivermectin. You cannot talk about how men cannot be women. Like, you cannot talk about these things. They seem to play ball with that pretty easily, right? Like, what is that? Why do they do that? Why don't I? Wall Street Apes says, huge, James O'Keefe just exposed an NGO telling illegal migrants to vote. This is a swing state. They are telling people to vote. Philadelphia City, Pennsylvania, whether you have a social security number or not, you can vote. Yes. So James O'Keefe has cameras and poll workers who have infiltrated the polls. And so that's interesting. Amuse says election integrity. If you're running an election office in Maricopa, Fulton, Clark, or Philadelphia County, you are now aware that at least a handful of your workers are undercover citizen journalists documenting the good, the bad, and the ugly. Anyone breaking the law has to worry about being caught on video. Thousands of hours of footage have already been captured. If you're working in an election office and see something nefarious, say something. If you're thinking about doing something nefarious, realize that you're likely being filmed by an undercover citizen journalist. So there you go. Interesting. Will Chamberlain says, listening to the Rogan Elon podcast, there's plenty of discussion about the DOJ lawsuit against SpaceX for not employing asylum seekers when they were legally prohibited from employing asylum seekers for national security reasons. One of the points Elon made, which is right, is that the Department of Justice doesn't do a huge number of these lawsuits against major corporations. They pick and choose. For them to choose to file this lawsuit against SpaceX on such obviously frivolous grounds is just a massive abuse of power. And given that SpaceX as a company is doing so much important work for all of humanity, it's a particularly appalling decision. But that's how the Democrat Party works. It's structurally psychopathic. It will do things to help its friends and hurt its perceived enemies, regardless of the consequences for Americans or for the rest of the world. It has to be beaten. Elon understands that. Rogan understands that. If you haven't voted yet, you need to understand that. The Democrat Party must be removed from power. It's a civilizational imperative. So there you go. And Josh says, American Labor Union leader Harold Daggett, if Trump wins the election, we go on strike on January 15th. Thoughts? They're going to try and, if they can't stop him or kill him between now and the inauguration on the 20th, if everything they try fails, they're going to try and economically destroy the United States while Trump is the president and blame it on him. And they're going to try and hit the reset button, the economic reset button during Trump's presidency. That's my prediction. They're going to tank BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. They can tank an entire country's economy if they want to. They own enough that they could do that. Sure, easy, no problem. And so I think that's the contingency plan for the people who are against Trump. So because they have deep, deep pockets and they have the means to convince people to do that by paying them or whatever. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.